Yeah, good morning. I'm very glad you're here at this kind of the day of the morning. I'm happy to do this with you. It's going to be fun and interesting. I want to put out a trigger warning maybe, because you're not going to expect it. I'm going to talk about sexual violence just in advance. I want to talk to you about fandom. An introduction for you, for one or the other, it might be known. I'm going to start from a beginner's level, so I'm going to explain quite a bit. I'm going to talk about fans and fan culture and its effects on pop culture and industries and economy, and how the economy takes it and how it integrates each other.
Was ist ein Fan überhaupt?
What is a fan? If you talk about fans, well, a fan comes. You would think fan comes from fanatic, and that's a little negative. But when I researched the word fan, it also comes from the word fancy, which means you like it. Yeah. And I think that is more. That comes more to the true meaning of fan than because fans obviously do something, with passion and like things instead of being fanatic. Fans are there in any area. There's in sports, music, literature, games, comics, series, actors. And it's not a new phenomenon, a modern phenomenon. The first fandoms were in the beginning of the 19th century. There was a train fandom. I was quite surprised that fan groups were around back then, because if you think about fandoms today, you think about young people, screaming teenagers, but not people who are crazy about trains or railways. There's also in the 19th century there was also Sherlock Holmes fandom. There were fan fictions, and when Holmes died in the series, there was a march through London. Werther, Goethe's novel Werther, I don't know who had to read this in school. There's the story that that it took the people so much that it influenced them in a negative way. I can't say, I can't tell if you that we would call that a fandom, but it's also some effect. There's obviously stereotypes. I mentioned the screaming girls, things about the Beatles and Justin Bieber's teenagers that go unconscious, pass out at concerts. But on the other hand, there are hooligans, screaming male groups in the stadium. Fandoms. I have in preparation. I asked people on Twitter and Tumblr, and I asked people what is a fandom for them, and I got great quotes from them. Thanks a lot for those people. I want to quote a few. What is a fandom? There's new rules, the fandom boundaries, the fandoms connect. I'm 100% sure that without fandom I would not be half as kind, half as aware, half as strong, half as educated as I am today. That's a quite nice quotes that show that a fandom is a community of people who like the same thing, and it can be more, much more than just screaming around or being obsessive together, but it's a community that can lead to people supporting each other, being creative, doing things together, organizing things together. Also a nice phenomenon is that it also builds friendships, and fan communities online leads to people getting in contact with each other and stay in contact with each other. I got a nice email where someone wrote me that they met each other about a decade ago, and they still go to marriages together or children's birthdays. days, and I really like that because that is shows that continuity and constantly and continuously shows how much connection a fandom can be. Fandoms can have totally depends on what, but they all have all the same rules and the cultural habits. It shows a little like we are there against the rest of the world. The others don't understand us, but we understand what we love with Harry Potter or Doctor Who or Sherlock Holmes. And books and comics, whatever. And you shouldn't underestimate that there's also a lot of art being created. I've got a picture here that's from a Hannibal fandom. Hannibal is a series at the moment that has been redone from the Hannibal Lecter series on the book, from the book series. And it starts before it, and there's a picture, a fan art that is also be found on the Hannibal page, and it shows that it's a little more than just scribbles from young people, but it's actually real art. Cosplay, fan fiction, fan art, conventions. There's things that belong to it. The first World Science Fiction Convention there was in 1939. There are also some words I should explain. OTP ship canon, head canon. The title is I will be done with this ship. The title of the the title of the talk is I will be down this ship, and to ship something is a pairing of two people, a constellation of two people that you would like to see. Of two people you would like to see in a romantic involvement. The first one you could ever see probably is Captain Kirk and Spock. A ship can also be a ship mustn't only be what it is in the own universe. For example, Harry Potter, a canon. Fan canons are capabilities, looks and stuff that are available in the official version. For example, Harry Potter canon is that Ron and Hermione become a couple, and you can ship them, but you can also ship Harry Potter with Draco. That would be a headcanon. That is not officially in the book. That is from fans, embossed by fans, and your own imagination. OTP is something it goes in the direction of a ship that is one true pairing. The only one true pairing or one true constellation. My OTP is one constellation like Kirk and Spock. This is the one thing I would like to see. And in younger fandoms, where young fans are, this is where the most creative work is being done. Yes, you would think, why is she bringing a photo of Johnny Depp? That is not Johnny Depp. That is a fan in cosplay. Cosplay means that people are trying to reenact characters. And by that as true and to the original as possible. And I like this because they made a true photo session, and I saw the photo and I thought, wait a second, I can't remember this scene in the film, and only at the end I noticed that it's a fan, there's also real cosplay events in the USA. There's also a series that accompanies cosplayers and shows what they are doing and how much effort they're putting into their cosplay, and yes, it's a lot of handcraft that is being put in there. Fan fiction, so stories that are being written to for series. So I've had a look at fanfiction.net. This is the largest fanfiction site in the world. I entered Harry Potter, and there you can see that there are 70,000 entries. They can be short, they can be long, they can be small anecdotes or well, you might know the fan fictions where it's about sex and romanticism. You can find them all too. On the side you can find categories, crossovers, where you can find some different interests and characters in the same world, and where people write stories for that. Where there's light, there's a shadow. While researching this talk, I found some negative feedback, and I could find this because it's not sometimes the way that you can't find, if you don't like the most famous ship, or if you don't like the imaginations that are mainstream, that you might be left as an outsider. So you could be an outsider within the outsiders. Then there's also scandals, stalking, abuse, fights. Stalking is often the way that parents push them each other up so much with, for example, with actors, that they try to meet stars privately, so stars can't move, and fans are followed and stalked, and that is what you get, what you hear, and what you see in the outside. There's an example. There's a Harry Potter fandom on YouTube, and there was a scandal a couple of weeks ago where they found out that a few known YouTubers in this community have abused, emotionally and physically abused fans, and this is obviously something where power relationships are shown within these communities, and I showed this in my other talk yesterday. It cleared itself up pretty easily because they were shut out of their own community, and they lost their record contracts, which is quite positive. That fandoms are actually cleaning themselves. Then I have an amusing example. This is Jawad Way. Was the lead singer from My Chemical Romance, which I was a fan of for quite a while. She wrote. There was a fan. She wrote because he's a comic book author. She wrote, "Please draw something for me." Because I want to have a tattoo, and he drew this strange skater, and he Twitter. I wonder if she's going to show me a picture if she has a tattoo, and yes, of course, she showed him the picture, and you see holy shit at the bottom, and people tend to underestimate what kind of impact you have on the fans, and these things are. These things are examples, extreme examples, but I know examples of people who have had tattoos of paintings or even autographs from stars. Now I'll show you something about pop culture and how it plays into the industry. The most famous fan fiction in the world is 50 Shades of Grey. I don't know if you know this, but 50 Shades of Grey was a fan fiction for Twilight, and this shows how the characters are, or the character is submissive, just like the girl in Twilight, and the author knows that she wrote a lot of crap and found it very interesting, but it was sold over 100 million times, and in the beginning it just moved, got recommended by mouth, and now it's even being filmed. As an example, now I'm going to talk about Supernatural. Also, I should have some fun. The series has been running for 9 series now, and Supernatural I'm talking, and even though it doesn't have that great ratings in comparison to other series. You can't compare it to The Walking Dead, for example, which is the most successful series. It has broken the fourth wall several times. And it has, what does that mean? Well, to break the fourth wall, it means that it is self-referential within the series. For example, the characters find books on themselves, and this GIF shows the characters where they come into an alternative world, where they are put into a world where they are actors that are playing themselves, and the character and they're even talking about them being themselves. And the character, one of the characters is married to a woman where they plays a demon, and he says, "What? You're married to this woman? That's crazy." And there's conventions you can go to there, and you can have photos with your characters, and there's merchandise, and there's. That's pretty standard, and maybe you know the series Glee, and that's pretty much standard. And there was already planned that in the film free time, that the actors are bound by contract to go to conventions when there's nothing being filmed, and spin-offs and other things are being spin-offs. For example, the Avengers series was very successful, and there's now a series called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is showing the same actors. So the including the fans is a standard of the industry. So interacting with fans is now standard. So fans are bound to the series. So this is from an actor from the series Scandal. There's a little collective watching of the series on Twitter, and here the actor is actually taking part in this collective watching. And you can imagine this, she's doing a German explanation. This is from the Tumblr from Hannibal. There's also sections for fan art, for GIFs, where other fans can have look at fan art by people, and it's giving more credit and more worth, and you can find friends, there's also another example from the games industry. The game series Mass Effect had an end in the third episode that caused massive outrage within the fans, and a lot of people found this really terrible, and it caused the studio to put out a DLC, downloadable content, to get to approach the fans. To just have an alternative ending, and this costs a lot of money, but for the studio to do this, but it also shows what fan cultures have within the industry. I'm coming to the end, so it's maybe a little early. Maybe we can do some questions. Fandoms. My end is being a fan is not a stigma. Don't be ashamed. You can, it's something nice. If you have something that you like very much, then go for it, enjoy it, then live for it, find things out, and shared happiness is double happiness, as one says in Germany. And there's others, there are some subcultures with memes, with things you might not understand immediately. So, for example, in Supernatural, there's the meme that the fandom has a GIF for any random stuff in you can be found in Tumblr. There's immediately a GIF. and there's something that is funny where you can laugh about, you can find out things, you can try things. There's people who've told that that they have come to understand the English language much better because of their fandom, because they have connected with other people, talking to other because they spoke English better. Or people perfection their drawing, their painting. So there's a great number of examples where, for example, young people try themselves out, and this is something really nice and precious. So my end word is find what you love and love it with your whole heart. And thank you. I'd like to thank you for listening, and we can now go to questions and answers. Short intermediate, I was the only translator. I hope you liked it, enjoyed it. I'm Julian. Give me a shout out on the Twitter hashtag LP14EN. And continue listening. All German talks today are being translated into English. And thank you very much. There's a question. Good morning. I'm a little I'm in the little supernatural fandom, but I've also dealt with other fandoms and wanted to ask you how do you think about OTPs that are always being male, and there's always homosexual OTPs, and I don't understand why. I find it interesting. I wanted to know from another fan if you have an idea where that comes from, that OTPs are always homosexual men. It's great because one of the facts I forgot to talk about. So thanks for that. The OTPs are mostly male. Sorry. And there's one reason might be that many female main characters are rare in series, so that might be the one point, that there's a lot of characters missing you want to pair, and it's a little of it's a phenomena, and yes. On the other hand, with fanfictions and OTPs, there's a lot of things that are difficult. There's a section that's non-con and dubcon, non-consent and dubious consent, and as we should know, dubious consent is not consent. So fictions that deal with sexual violence, and also. Especially in homosexual context, I find this problematic, but I don't know where it comes from. But I hope that the industry but I hope that there might be more interesting female characters, and I hope that it gets more diverse. I don't think it's bad to ship a man with a man, but it's not that much diversity. And I agree, that's not that nice. Is another question? One or maybe two? Yes. Here in the front. Thank you. 70,000 texts about Harry Potter, I think. What do you know about how much they are read? It's such a huge number. That is different. The most successful can be read by a couple of thousand, and people follow this, and if there are more than one chapter, then people follow this. And I don't know if you've seen this, there's a lot of things that are very short or started and then that continued, and people only have a look at, only few people have that. So look at that. So fan fictions, for example, are often written for friends or girlfriends. A woman wrote that a friend of hers whose fan fiction she really much liked, she wrote her a fan fiction and she was really happy, and she had written it in the way that she would have liked it, and that is can be only, you know, that 2 or 3 people read it, or it can be, you know, a couple of thousand or even millions with 50. I think that was it. Thank you very much, and I'll make a picture of you.
Genau, kriegst doch alle.
Thank you very much.